The U.S. fiscal journey from bad to worse continues with the release last week of new economic data from the Congressional Budget Office, which is the government's financial scorekeeper, telling us that the U.S. is set to surpass the post-war high of debt to GDP within the next 4 years, on its way to within the decade, exceeding the World War II high and pushing the US into genuinely uncharted new territory. Now, a lot of people, when they hear news like that, is for one, it's just kind of a big yawn. For the people who don't yawn, this is not a thing we need to worry about because they say in World War II, we ran higher deficits than anybody ever imagined the United States would. And the result was a huge economic boom and the deficit declined for decades until it was eventually balanced in the 1990s. Those people often ignore really important differences between the post World War II moment and right now. First is there was an enormous demographic tailwind, which added to the productivity of the economy in the post war environment, along with what had just been an enormous investment in US productive capacity. Right now, we are fighting headwinds on productive capacity and also fighting a demographic decline. So that's a huge difference. Second, in the post World War era, enormous strides were made in reining in the spending of the war era. The Hoover Commissions both made recommendations around that spending to find graceful ways and to pare it back so that we wouldn't keep spending in peacetime like it is wartime. Well, right now, we're doing that very thing. And the third thing is that the increasingly open capital markets have meant that investors have a greater say in how debt is priced than they ever did before. And so at the end of the day, the interest rate on US debt is always a negotiation with investors who don't buy into cheap promises and recognize a trend line when they see it. And so these three facts mean that we're not in the post World War II era. The tricky part is knowing which history is going to repeat at which time. Are we now on the verge of a World War II boom that's going to bring the debt down, or are we now at the beginning of Weimar Germany? When you hear people talking about the budget, are they honestly naming costs alongside benefits? Are they describing who's going to pay those costs and what it's going to mean for them? And if they're not doing it, that is not a good faith argument. We cannot careen over the World War II cliff and just say that is fine. And even if we could, the 10-year plan is that we're going to pass that limit. The 30-year plan is anybody's guess. The U.S. national debt is on a disastrous trajectory. The Congressional Budget Office is warning us about it, and we are ignoring it to our peril. Thanks so much for joining. See you next time.